Hey everybody, I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are watching The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards, fire up your fingers, and come join the conversation.
Hey everybody out there on YouTube's and simulcast on gun channels, the water cooler of the Internet Second Amendment community. This is The Right of the People in its new and improved look, I hope. As you all may know, YouTube decided to do away with Hangouts as the primary means to stream, so we've all had to figure out other stuff. I'm using some software called XSplit in conjunction with Hangouts to try to pull this off. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who is here, both on the panel and out in the chat. I know we had a few that showed up really early, have been hanging out, and that's pretty cool. So without further ado, I want to say hello to everybody on the panel. Let's start in no particular order with David Bowling, the Kingpin himself. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. Good. Appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem. Always a pleasure. The one, the only, the one who strikes at night, Night Strike. How you doing, sir?
Cover your ears.
Go right ahead.
Shut up, be infringed.
Wonderful. And last but certainly not least, the lovable yet irascible Squibload. How you doing, sir?
Doing good. You know, I was advised by my father and my father-in-law to water the garden at night.
That's probably good advice.
Yeah, what about all the mosquitoes?
Well, that's why you wait until it's night and not when it's dusk.
Could you tell the mosquitoes that it's night and not dusk? Because they're not listening.
Oh, well, I don't know. Roll call says it's echoing. I wouldn't know why it would be echoing. I don't know. Let me turn my microphone down just a little bit. Maybe you're picking up what I'm hearing. I don't know.
It sounds a little bit like you're far away from the mic, maybe.
Oh, you know what? Somehow.
Yeah.
No, how about that now? Is it better?
Again?
All right. Let me know out there in the chat if this is better. I certainly don't want this to be more of a dumpster fire than it normally is. And speaking of dumpster fires, there is, Midnight says it's just the guests who are echoing. Yeah, that's probably it, because you're probably picking up from my computer speakers coming over through my microphone, I would guess. That's probably what it is. So I turned my microphone down. Hopefully it won't pick them up. And let me turn their volume down just a little bit on my laptop.
Volume down.
There we go. Hopefully I can still hear them and you guys can't, and everything will be right as rain. Let me know how that's working. Yeah, Jason says budget sounds good, panel peeps echo. So let's see how that works now after I've turned everything down. Turn the gain on my mic down, turn the gain from the volume for the laptop down, and hopefully that'll work. I gotta remember not to pick my nose, man. I'm not used to doing this on camera. Nobody wants to see that. And if you do, yeah, I probably don't want you here.
Well, remember, you can pick your nose and you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your friend's nose.
Absolutely right. Well, you can, but it's generally frowned upon.
No, you lose friends that way.
Oh, okay. Well, out there, speaking of friends, out there in the chat on the YouTube's side here, we got Grim90, the Poor Conservative, Jason Stewart, Kingpin pulling double duty, Matthias. I don't think I recognize, unless you're my actual friend, Matthias.
He's one of Never Enough Ammo's guys. I was talking to him on NEA's Discord a little while ago because we were thinking about playing a game, and you sent me a link, so I told him I was jumping over here, and I gave him the link to the chat.
Oh, cool. Well, welcome to the show. I'll explain it here in a second. David Ramirez, Kinky Sphincter, Mad Sexy, Midnight Range, the Pancake Boy himself. Roll call 219. Those of you who are out there that have links, please feel free to jump in. Mad Sexy says it sounds better. Gabe Stark's out there. 9mm, how you doing? Squib Lift, that's Squib's alter ego, playing double duty. Green Badger Outdoors, hello, hello, hello. And anybody else that hops in, please leave a comment down below. That way I know you're out there and I can say hi. Yes, Squib, I said duty. Anyhow, for those of you who've never watched the show, The Right of the People is where I present to you articles from various sources across the internet that are related to Second Amendment news, politics, and current events. Then we discuss it not only with the esteemed panel members, but with you out there in the chat. This is not like radio where it is a one-way lecture, presentation, not really even a conversation. This is a two-way conversation. So please don't hesitate to say something down below. All right, getting into it.
We do try and keep it PG, maybe a little on the PG-13 side, depending on if budget gets triggered by something infringing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
We do try to keep everything PG here. Once in a while, I may venture into PG-13 territory and end up winning the Wound Up Sumbitch of the Week over on Midnight Range's channel. I try not to, but this is a topic about which I care a great deal. Otherwise, I wouldn't go through the time, effort, and expense of doing this.
Yeah.
Anyhow, speaking of dumpster fires, which I did mention earlier, hold on one moment.
You love those.
Got to take a break from my Polar Pop, and no, I'm not getting paid. Damn it. Anyhow, yeah, no throats were cleared in the gaining of this tasty beverage. Anyhow, speaking of dumpster fires, this is a piece from Save the Second. Let's see, by Ron Carter from August 1st, 2019. Breaking NRA Board resignations. The following letter was just submitted to the NRA Board President from Directors Esther Schneider, Sean Maloney, and Timothy Knight. Sean Maloney's a member of the board and a mover and shaker in the Buckeye Firearms Association, for those of you who are here in the beautiful Buckeye State. Anyhow, August 1st, go ahead, Nice Strike.
I just want to mention this. Me and Brokaw touched on some board members resigning the other night. Are these the same members, or are these different members other than the ones that resigned on Wednesday?
This is from August 1st, so yesterday.
So
they may have done it Wednesday. I just caught the information yesterday.
Okay. I'm just trying to be clear because I want to make sure we're on the right page, okay?
Yeah. Anyhow, from August 1st, 2019, ladies and gentlemen, it is with profound disappointment that each of us hereby tenders our resignation from the Board of Directors of the National Rifle Association, effective immediately. We proudly agreed to serve as board members of the NRA because of our steadfast belief in the association's core mission of protecting the Second Amendment and its leadership's commitment to serving its members with honesty, integrity, and transparency. While our belief in the NRA's mission remains as strong today as ever, our confidence in the NRA's leadership has been shattered. As board members, we are duty-bound to act with care and in the best interest of the NRA and its mission. Proper discharge of that duty compels us to speak up and take action when we become aware of matters within the association that run counter to its mission, governing principles, policies, or the law. Over the past several months, there have been numerous highly publicized allegations of impropriety leveled against the association and certain members of its executive leadership team. In exercising our oversight responsibilities as board members, we have sought information and requested certain actions be taken with respect to these allegations, only to be rebuffed at every turn. We had expected, or at least hoped, that the executive leadership team would recognize the seriousness of these allegations and work with us in a constructive and transparent manner to address our concerns and minimize any further harm to the association. Instead, we have been stonewalled, accused of disloyalty, stripped of committee assignments, and denied effective counsel necessary to properly discharge our responsibilities as board members. As a result of the foregoing, we are left with no other choice but to resign as members of the Board of Directors. In doing so, however, We hope that our action will serve as a catalyst for much-needed reform within the NRA so that it can return its focus to the mission which we remain unwavering unwaveringly committed, protecting the Constitution of the United States and especially the Second Amendment. Sincerely, Esther Snyder, Sean Maloney, and Timothy Knight. The article goes on to say, we at Save the Second respect their decision, and we both appreciate their service as board directors and applaud their courage in demanding outside review. We hope that this serves as another wake-up call to all NRA members. This isn't just a case of rats jumping off the burning ship. It's a case of a few with integrity realizing that they can better serve the members from outside the board. So I don't understand exactly how they're supposed to serve members from outside the board, but maybe it's better because maybe they won't be bound by NDAs and maybe they won't, they'll be able to spark something within the rest of the board who might have something that, resembles a bit of integrity. What do you guys think? Do you think this is good, bad, or indifferent?
I don't know. It seems like it could be pretty bad to me because I think the good story, the story that I'd like to hear told, is that the NRA cleaned itself up from the inside. Yeah, and if all these people keep bailing out, and the only one that's still there seems to be Wayne LaPierre and his cronies, I don't see it getting any better.
Exactly. I know I have asked Rob Pincus his opinion on whether or not it's better to just let the membership lapse or to go ahead. Because I've been thinking about becoming a life member just to get voting privileges. Because, how are you going to change anything if you can't vote? His take on it is, don't even bother, starve them. So, I don't know. I'm still kicking that around and debating it. I don't know.
Let's go get that Indiegogo campaign going for you.
What Indiegogo campaign?
So you can become a life member.
No, if I do that, I'm going to do it on my own dime, man.
I was kidding, by the way.
Oh, okay, because, I don't think anybody would contribute to that. I think I'd get hate mail and death threats.
We were going to do one for roll call because he was going to run for NRA president.
Yeah, but now you have to be a board member for 5 years before you can even, or a life member for 5 years before you can even get on the board, I think. So, yeah. Speaking of roll call, hey, buddy, welcome. Glad you could hop on.
Yeah, this is the first time I've been on a live stream with all the new technology that's being put forth.
Woohoo! Ain't it pretty?
It looks cool. I like it better than the Hangouts. I think you can put your banners up there. You can, do a little bit more self-promotion or change it around. I'm enjoying it.
Oh, I am a shameless whore. I'm going to self-promote.
Mm-hmm.
I am what I am, man. Me and Popeye.
Yeah.
Out there in the chat, let's see. David Ramirez says the NRA is slowly sinking and the GOA is steadily growing. Yeah, absolutely. He also says we need to make the GOA and FPC bigger. They do so much. Yep, I agree with both of those sentiments. I would also say that we need to throw all of our support behind the Second Amendment Foundation as well, because they're fighting the good fight in the courts that nobody else is. I mean, maybe they'll be assisted by the NRA on one case. They'll be assisted by the FPC on another case. They'll be assisted by the GOA on a different case. But the Second Amendment Foundations, they got their fingers in all those pies, and that's just wonderful. Frankly, I think we should join up with and support all three of those organizations, the GOA, FPC, and SAF. I did. I put my money right where my mouth is. I'm a life member of the Second Amendment Foundation, and I'm a member of the Gun Owners of America and the Firearms Policy Coalition, so I think everybody else should too. Skip a couple of fast food meals in a month, and there you go. You've got your membership. 9mm says it's a double-edged sword. If they stay, their future endeavors could be at risk, considering everyone knows about the corruption If they leave, it leaves nobody fighting for change on the inside. Yeah, and that's it. That is the cleft stick in which we all find ourselves. You know, if we leave, we can't do anything from the inside. If we stay, we're tainted with the stench of corruption from everybody that's there. So I don't know. I have to maintain my membership as, well, I guess I don't have to maintain my membership as a NRA certified instructor. You can be an instructor without being a member, but it makes things easier for you when you're purchasing materials and what for classes and so on. So, yeah.
You don't have to be a life member in order to vote.
You have to either be a life member or have been a yearly member for 5 years with no lapse. And if you let it lapse, you start over. So if you want to vote in the NRA, the safe bet is life. Although that does sound like a
how many years have you consecutively been a member without letting it lapse?
One.
One?
Just one. Yeah. I've let it lapse, and I recently.
Huh.
Yeah, well, because a lot of times I don't. You know, like a lot of other people, I disagree with the NRA on a lot of the crap they do. And I'll join here and there and then let it lapse and then join again and then let it lapse. You know, I've kind of been wishy-washy as far as my commitment to the NRA goes. So I think I'm working on year 2 here now. But, you know, I knew I was going to become an instructor, so I'm like, you know what, it's time to just shit or get off the pot, so to speak. And maintain my membership, because, you know, if you're going to be an instructor certified by the organization, you probably ought to be a member of the organization. Yes, Warsaw, I got the email. I'm going to order one of those here probably after I get done doing this, so I can check that out. You know, even if it doesn't work with my even if it doesn't work with this, it'll work with my AK, right? So anyhow, yeah, that's my take on this with the NRA. Now we have there was a letter that came out from another NRA board of directors basically doing the rah, 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 Wayne is awesome, and you guys are all Russian bot, Soros-paid, Bloombergian poo-poo heads who just want to tear everything down. You know, not that they're people who want to fix the NRA and see a clear path towards fixing the NRA and, you know, wanting to have some accountability in the NRA and wanting to have some oversight by the board, actual oversight by the board. No, that can't be it. They got to just be people who want to wreck shit. Have a good one, Mad Sexy.
If you continue to give money to the NRA, you continuously feed the beast. You feed the vicious cycle that must be broken. And I understand there's a lot of people that are life members, a lot of people believe in this. It's not going to get any better. And you can sit here and cross your fingers, you know, cross your toes, you know, pray to whoever you worship. They're not going to change. And where your money goes to is the luscious parties that Mac has talked about that he's been a part of. Look at that guy's spending spree. And people continuously dump money in there. There's a reason for that. They want to have a lavish lifestyle on your dollar. That's not an organization to be a part of. And people are going to have to understand that sooner or later, because New York's not done with the NRA yet. They're going to have a rude awakening from what I've gathered online. And you know what? That's something. Hey, if I was these people, I would sign my letter of resignation as quick as possible. And then you know what? You move on. You say thanks, but no thanks, and you start creating different organizations. You join. I'd like to see these people join the GOA or the FPC or something of that nature. You keep on feeding these people money. They're just as bad as politicians. They don't put your money where it belongs. They put it in their pockets. And if you believe different, hey, good to you. But in the end, they're going to disappoint you just like they disappoint these people. There's a reason why they're resigning. And it's not because they're they're going to retire off somewhere else. It's because they're not doing the right thing. All these resignations don't like resonate with you as a life member, as a 5-year member, or whatever. Then nothing will, and you will continue to feed the vicious cycle.
Yep.
I don't care what
agree.
they do with the money. I want them to represent us. The same thing with politicians. I don't care if they get kickbacks or any of this other garbage, as long as they represent us. When we put them in office and they don't represent us, that's where I notice. That's where it matters to me. And with groups like the NRA or any other organization, whether they're taxable, non-taxable, whether they're business, whether they're a charity, whatever they are, there's a certain level of this, that, and the other, and for some people it's kind of difficult to understand. I'm not saying it's right, but that's not the issue. The issue is that when there's been gun control, the NRA should be the first one going, no. And instead, on some things, they've gone, no, we're okay with this. If they put their foot down on everything, or if they traded one thing for another, or they did something other than going, you know what, we're going to pick and choose which ones we think will keep people sending money our way because we're going to keep using the same old fear tactics. They want gun control because without gun control, they don't make money. So they're going to fight for some stuff to go, look, we're doing something. They're not going to fight for everything because they're not going to work themselves out of the job. None of the gun rights organizations are going to work themselves out of a job. And with any organization that gets big enough and is around long enough, you have this stuff where the higher-ups do these sorts of things. I'm not saying it's right, but as long as they're representing me, as long as they're doing what I voted for them to be in there, because I've been a member long enough that I voted and voted and voted. Whether it's in Congress or whether it's the NRA or whatever, it's just like at work. I've worked for a gigantic company before, and I've seen what these execs do with the money. As long as my paycheck's cashing, my health insurance works, I'm getting my bonuses too, and my work environment's safe, and I've got a regular job and getting training and all the other stuff that comes along with the fact that they're getting perks, I really don't care if they have a car allowance or they have a business, an expense account, or they get the part, because at the end of the day, I've got a job. So my thing is, if Wayne wants to spend the money he spends and throw the parties and do this and do that, sometimes that's good for image, because if these people in Congress think that the NRA is collapsing, then when the NRA does go in there, the few times they actually go in there and actually fight for us, they're not going to have a leg to stand on. But if they go, wait a minute, these guys are still living a life of luxury, obviously nothing's wrong with the NRA, they're going to be afraid of the NRA. And I know that's kind of hard for some people to understand. I'm not justifying what they do, but nobody's going to do what they do, just like nobody's going to be an executive at a car company or be the president of the United States if they're going to live like an average middle-class person. So I don't care what they do with the money. Just do what I put you in place to do.
And I hear what you're saying,
it just doesn't matter.
But the difference is, in a private company, totally cool to do that. If that's part of the perks of your position, that's part of the perks of your position. But in a non-profit organization, things are a little different. And that's where they're running afoul of things in New York.
Do you think the NRA is the only non-profit that does this?
That doesn't
You've got
mean
to be
it's
kidding
right.
me.
And that doesn't mean it's legal. And that's where the problem in New York is coming from.
That's for them to fix. That's for them to fix. The problem I have with them is that they're not fighting for everything, or on the things that maybe it isn't a good idea to fight for. They're not being strategic about. There are certain things that maybe it isn't a good idea to fight for, or it's not a good idea to fight for it now, or it's not a good idea to fight for it this way, or it's a good idea to fight for it knowing you're going to lose, but in the process you gain two things back, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But they're not doing that consistently. No. They're only doing enough to keep you afraid. That's what I don't like.
Yeah, and the main focus of the NRA is, and has been for a long time, raising money, and that is it. You know, if they're raising money to do something with it that's productive, absolutely, sure, but raising money just to raise money, just to pad someone's golden parachute, that's a bunch of crap. That's the way I see it, especially for an organization that is supposed to represent us. Now, of course, a private business, well, that's the whole point, is to make profit. For make money for the shareholders. That is the one single responsibility that a CEO has. But for a nonprofit, they're especially one that's supposed to be America's oldest civil rights organization. Well, your focus should be the civil right, not the intern love shack.
They didn't become a civil rights organization until the 70s, and they did it because they found out they could make money off of it. They might be registered as a nonprofit, and that's between them and the government as far as the penalties they're going to pay or any jail time they're going to do or having their nonprofit revoked. But they've been a business since about as long as I've been alive. They're a business. And so are a lot of other things. Churches are businesses. I got news for you. And but they still have a nonprofit status. There are all kinds of things. They're businesses. They hide behind the nonprofit. There are legal ways to do it, and there's illegal ways to do it.
Yeah.
But they're not a charity. They're not a nonprofit. They might be registered as a nonprofit, and that's a legal issue. But no, they're about the money. It's just like there's lots of companies that make things that's not how they make money, by making things in a factory and selling them. They make money off of selling stocks. They have to have the factories and make the product to look like they're doing something. But it's a shell game because they're constantly, in the stock market. And if people stop investing in their company, they'll fall apart. We're the investors in the NRA, and we're not getting a good return on our investment. So I can understand somebody saying, hey, look, I'm bailing. And if that's what you want to do what you want to do. And I can understand somebody saying, no, I'm staying because somebody's got to stay to the fight. You're not going to win either way. You really aren't. And if somebody thinks that the other organizations are going to replace the NRA, they're not unless they change their charter and change their mission, which if they do, okay, fine. The NRA can have some competition. The GOA will be the next NRA, but not in what they do, but in how they do it. I support different gun rights organizations, and I believe in the fight for the Second Amendment. But I'm also not gullible enough to believe that any of these organizations on a state or national level are truly our friends. This is a business. They do things, and the more they do, the better. If they're doing what we're sending them our dues or any extra money or buying their swag or doing whatever, they're doing what we're more or less paying them to do. That's why I have a problem when somebody goes, all you do is send money to the GOA. You're not an activist. Really? Sending money to the GOA, that's something. It's better than nothing.
Yeah, it absolutely is better than nothing.
I just want to see these guys follow up and do what we pay them to do what we elect them to do what we ask them to do what we, in all these emails and petitions, what we ask for.
Yeah. Well, I think, I keep saying that, we're beating this NRA thing to death over and over, but it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's like
I'm surprised the horse isn't dead yet.
Oh my goodness, it's nothing but a puddle of goo at this point. But it keeps getting back up, and we got to keep hitting it on the head. So yeah. Anyhow, moving on. Now that we're a half hour into this, everybody who has listened to this show for any length of time should know that I have a pretty fair amount of disdain for the mainstream / legacy / old school / traditional, whatever you want to call it, media. I think that it's probably the most dangerous single entity, even though it's a bunch of different entities, but I treat it as the same, the media. I lump it together like that. So just for sake of argument, that's when I say single entity, that's what I mean. I mean like ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, yada 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 yada, all that good stuff. Anyhow, I have a lot of disdain for the media. I always have. I think they are the greatest enemy that we have for our gun rights. They control the narrative in this country. They control it by deciding what to say, what not to say, what information we have, what information we don't have, what story leads the news, what story you never see. And if you don't think that they do this in order to further an agenda, you're absolutely nuts. You're crazy. So, and it has always been clear to me. Finally, somebody kind of screwed up and admitted it. This is an article I found in secondamendment.news, which is a reprint of an article from Big League Politics. And it says, fake news, USA Today admits they ignored mass killing because killer didn't use guns. This is from August 1st, 2019. USA Today ran an opinion piece admitting that the mainstream media ignored a horrific mass killing in Japan because the killer did not use guns, and thus they could not use the atrocity to demonize gun ownership. Earlier this week, USA Today ran the headline, Kyoto animation arson killings didn't get much attention because we couldn't demonize guns, admitting what conservatives have suspected for years. The media only cares about mass shootings because they can use them to push back against the Second Amendment. Excuse me. USA Today reported, in terms of the death toll, this was Japan's worst mass killing in nearly 2 decades, sending shockwaves throughout the island nation. Globally, the impact was deeply felt within the anime community, including those attending an international anime convention held in San Diego. Beyond that, the reaction was hardly commensurate with the horrific nature of the crime. The limited attention here in the United States cannot be explained away on account of distance. Compare the coverage with that of the mosque shootings last March in Christchurch, New Zealand, a location even farther from our shores. U.S. newspapers and wire services featured the Christchurch massacre 5 times as much as the Kyoto mass murder. On July 18th, the man stormed into a Japanese anime studio, doused the building with a flammable liquid, and shouted, "You die!" He then set the building ablaze, murdering 33 workers within. As USA Today noted, the mass killing was the worst in Japan's history. The AP reported 36 others were injured, some of them critically, in a blaze that sent people scrambling up the stairs toward the roof in a desperate and futile attempt to escape what proved to be Japan's deadliest fire in nearly 2 decades. Others emerged bleeding, blackened, and barefoot. The suspect, identified only as a 41-year-old man who did not work for the studio, was injured and taken to a hospital. Police gave no details on the motive, but a witness told Japanese TV that the attacker angrily complained that something of his had been stolen, possibly by the company. The fact that over 60 people were injured, some fatally, without the same type of national uproar as the Christchurch shooting, shows the media's bias. If a gun is used, the story becomes national news and an excuse to justify stripping Americans of the Second Amendment right to defend themselves. But if a gun is not used, the story quickly fades from the national stage and becomes background information. It is a rare moment of honesty for the fake news media, but USA Today finally admits what conservatives have suspected for years. The mainstream media is a propaganda outfit for the left wing. I cannot agree more. I've been saying it. I always say it. Those of you who, head on over to Gunstreamer and check out the backlog of this show, and you'll hear me say it time and time and time and time and time and time again. Matter of fact, those of you who watch this show regularly are probably sick of hearing me say it. But there it goes. Fellas, what do you think?
I'm thinking why we're even talking about this, because we all know this already.
They've weaponized the media. That's what you look at. It's the media is weaponized. It's only to do one thing. It's for the people that want control to manipulate the media, to brainwash the masses. Cognitive dissidence. That's what they want. They want people to fall in line. They have weaponized the media to the point where that's the only thing we have to listen to. We shouldn't listen to the truth. They don't know what facts are. It's propaganda. That's all it is.
Yep. Always has been. Always has been. It's a case of using tragedy to advance their agenda. They've done it over and over and over and over and over again for decades. Probably. Well, actually, it's nothing new. It's been happening since media existed. You know, since the first broadside was published, the first newspaper was published, the first journal or magazine was published, you know, if it bleeds, it leads. If it's sensational, it makes the headlines. Hell, as much as I like to bitch and complain about it, that's what we do here too. All of us on YouTube who have these channels who talk about current events and stuff, we talk about this stuff because it's gonna bring views. I mean, let's be honest. So, and yeah, I guess if we're being real honest, we're focusing on things that advance our own agenda. So, you know, I guess we kind of have to, in order to be a counterpoint to the big dogs, have to have a lot of us little dogs yapping around, biting ankles. You know, be like El Chapo. But
the difference between what we're doing here tonight and what a guy like Don Lemon does on his show is we're not lying, cheating, rotten snakes.
Oh, yeah. And our agenda happens to be fighting to preserve a constitutionally protected natural right, not strip it from people.
Also, if the media wasn't putting out a false narrative and the politicians weren't playing their games, you'd be doing a show where we'd be talking about you ruining a knife by chopping a log with it or something like that, instead of talking about this stuff, which would be kind of fun to do too.
Yeah.
You know, and don't get me wrong, and I know that there's some people out there that don't address the problem. They don't want to get involved, and that's their choice. As they still bring different things out there for people to see, and it's some level of involvement to some extent, even if they're just in it for money. And I know that there's some people that go, we've had too much doom and gloom, and I don't know, sometimes you need the doom and gloom because it gets people off their butts. I'd love to hear the doom and gloom go away because I don't need it to get off my butt, but there are a lot of people out there that do. It's just, yeah, sometimes we fight fire with fire, we stoop to their level, and then sometimes we do try to take the high road, but, you know, Kingpin's right. We try to have facts on our side. That's why whenever I hear somebody in our community say something that's inaccurate, I try to correct them, or I try to, you know, ask them to, hey, go back and double check this or whatever, because even if it's something as minuscule as using the term clip instead of magazine, we need to have facts on our side.
Absolutely.
Because when we do that, we are taking the high ground. We are trying to be the better person. So, and I know some people are like, that's just too anal, but, you know, that's just how I feel about it.
Plus, we're also not looking to purposefully destroy other people. And everybody on Fox News, like Fox News or not, CNN, MSNBC, Wall Street Journal, Baltimore Sun, New York Times, name anyone you want, they have agendas about destroying other people. And that's not what I'm into. If any of y'all are into destroying somebody, let me know. And then this can be the last time we hang out with each other. But I seriously doubt that anybody in the chat or on this panel has got a black heart that they want to set out to destroy somebody.
Okay.
Well,
okay, maybe Night Strike. That's it.
Well, in my defense, I am related to Ellis. Our family has a history.
Okay, show of hands. How many people want to destroy Night Strike? Okay.
I don't want to destroy Night Strike.
Oh, no, I meant how many people Night Strike wants to destroy.
This is probably too many, and I'll never get around to it, so, you know, whatever.
Yeah, prison's a pesky thing, man. The fear of it keeps me from doing a lot of stuff.
Right? I'm not the only one.
Yeah, boy, that's a fact.
You know?
Speaking of nasty stuff and destruction, and it's, you know, I didn't want to talk about it, but I kind of have to because it dovetails in with, and you'll see where I'm going with this. It dovetails in with the whole narrative and exploitation of a tragedy thing. You know, we got to talk about this Gilroy Garlic Festival attack. Yeah, I know. That's the problem with doing a show at the end of the week, man. Everybody's already talked about this stuff ad nauseum, but, you know.
Okay. All right. What part do you want to talk about? Because I've got some updated information that I've read some stuff since then on it. What do you want to talk about? the fact that this dude wasn't a California resident or from California in general, the fact that this dude bought his firearms in Nevada, lived in Nevada, and went to California and did this, the fact that, you know, that this was a gun-free zone, it had a fence all around it, and it had a checkpoint with, you know, with security there, that the guy went around and used bolt cutters just to go through the fence.
Yep, cut through the fence so he could avoid the security.
You know, so he could avoid the security.
The fact that the park was completely a gun-free zone by Gilroy ordinance. You know,
what further can we say that it's California's own fault that it happened?
That California already has waiting periods, assault weapons bans, age restrictions, ammunition background checks, all this other stuff that everybody on the anti-gun side wants to call for is already in play in California. And it did jack shit. Because the simple fact is, criminals, by definition of the word, do not follow the law. Name one law. Name one law that's so-called common sense gun control. Name one that this fellow would have followed, that would have prevented this, and I will do my damnedest to make sure it happens. I will pledge my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor to it.
You're preaching to the choir.
Name one. And I'm not going to hold my breath because I'll turn blue and pass out.
Was there a sign anywhere, possibly?
Oh,
I bet you if you posted a sign,
if there was a sign, if only there was a sign. Really? I know you were being facetious, dude.
if only they had a sign saying no guns allowed.
Yes.
Night Strike, I agree with you on the whole California bears some blame on this. I discussed this on Lock and Load on Monday, and I said that any government employee representing California or that region who had anything to do with any restriction on the Second Amendment in the past 40 years bears some responsibility for what happened there. Because if these people were allowed to open or conceal carry lawfully there, it wouldn't have been a soft target. You would say there were FBI agents there and there were police there. And I think it's weird that FBI agents would be there. That's a little weird. Now, I'm not talking conspiracy theory weird. It's just weird in general. And he did confront them, and they did eventually eliminate him. But if it was a state, where you
Squib. Let me scroll down in my stack of stuff here. According to the LA Times from August 2nd, which is today, 2019, Gilroy Garlic Festival shooter killed himself, coroner says, contradicting police version of events. The Gilroy Garlic Festival gunman killed himself, the county medical examiner concluded Friday, contradicting an earlier police account that 3 officers had shot him dead within a minute. Santino William Lagan, whatever the hell his name is, asshole is what I'll call him. Yeah, I know, there goes my PG rating. 19,
but you called him by his proper name.
Opened fire at the popular food festival Sunday evening, killing 3 people and wounding 13 more. Police had previously said his rampage was cut short when 3 Gilroy policemen engaged and killed him in less than a minute. The Santa Clara County medical examiner, however, said that he died of a self-inflicted intraoral gunshot wound, according to a spokeswoman for the medical examiner. At a news conference Thursday, Scott Smithy, the Gilroy police chief, declined to say how many times he had been shot. He identified the Gilroy officers who engaged him as Eric Cryer, Hugo Del Moral, and Robert Basuino, all longtime law enforcement veterans. I think they're heroes. I don't think they view themselves that way, Smithy said. I think they view themselves as just doing their job. So apparently this guy nibbled on the end of his rifle barrel and squeezed the trigger. Now, why the son of a bitch didn't do that before he went into that park and save everybody a bunch of trouble, I don't know.
This is what I mean about getting our facts straight. I'm glad you corrected me on that, because the last information I had was right before we went on air on Monday night. So that makes me wonder if he offed himself. Then I wonder if the information that there were FBI agents present is probably inaccurate too, because it just doesn't make any sense why they would do that. Law enforcement, I can understand, either undercover, plain clothes or uniform. The whole thing is, let's say that anybody there who was above the age of 18 and a law-abiding citizen had the right to open or conceal carry there. He wouldn't have gone there. He would have seen the guns or known that people would have had guns. Or if he had, let's say a citizen had to put him down before he got to where law enforcement was or law enforcement got to him. You see what I mean? And I know that the other side goes, no, more guns is not the answer. That's a load of crap. That's a load of crap. More guns is the answer. And I agree with Night Strike that California has some of the responsibility to bear. And what I'd like to see is that the victims' families sue the state of California, sue, whoever they can, to set a point that if you're going to take away our right to protect ourselves because we can't carry a cop around with us everywhere, then we're going to make you pay. Now, I realize that just makes the taxpayers pay, but still, I mean, it's something, right?
Well, I was also getting at Squib that the fact that this dude wasn't even from California in the first place. So technically, they're supposed to, in California law.
No, the information I got is he was from there. He moved to Nevada and he came home. His family lives there.
Okay,
so his family lives there. Well, he went to school there. He was born and raised in that area or whatever. But he was 19, and after high school he moved to Nevada and was living in Nevada long enough to get a Nevada driver's license. Because if you have a California driver's license and you try to buy a gun in Nevada, they won't sell it to you. So he had to live in Nevada long enough to get a Nevada.
I read something that they raided his house in Nevada and they found more of his they found essentially what they said is they found all of his firearms. And
it's interesting that
but what I was getting at is if his country of residence was or his state residence was Nevada, he illegally brought ammunition and his firearm into the state of California illegally. So he technically broke California law. So
that's right.
Again,
but they did go to his parents' home and they interviewed him, and there were reports from people that live on the street that about the cops showing up there and beating on the door and all this other stuff. So he came home to do this. And
hey guys, I'm trying to make a point here. So
go for it. Go, dude, hurry.
Well, dovetailing in with something Squib said about if the people there who had been allowed to have their firearms, he would have never went there. Absolutely right. You're actually, speaking of facts, you're actually proven by a study by John Lott at the Crime Prevention Research Center. This is from July 7, 2019, breaking down mass public shooting data from 1998 through June 2019. From weapons used, gun-free zones, racial, age, and gender demographics. From this article, which you guys can all see here, it's on Crime Prevention Research. It's crimeresearch.org, so go check that out if you guys want to look at it yourself. Anyhow, by the type of weapons used, murders only with handgun, 56%, handgun and shotgun, 12%, handgun and rifle, 12%, only shotguns, 4%, only rifles, 13%, all three types of weapons, 3%. So the vast majority of these murders are done with handguns. So their demonization of the so-called assault rifle was a bunch of garbage. Let's move on to the next chart. And this is the one that really backs you up, Squid. Mass public shootings in gun-free zones, 1998 to June 2019. Not gun-free zone, 11%. Gun-free zone, 89%. So almost 9 times out of 10, if it's a mass public shooting, it is in a gun-free zone. Here's the numbers to back it up. Here's a good source for you. Number of attacks by year, 1998 to June 2019. So the number killed in public, number of attacks. That's interesting information. Age distribution of killers. I don't know if you really need that. Gender, of course, this doesn't surprise me that most of the mass public shooters are male. Racial demographics, this doesn't shock me at all. The white people, or excluding Middle Eastern, are the majority of the ones that commit it. I mean, it's the majority of the people in the country are white people, so that, I mean, I think this pretty much breaks right down along racial composition. It may be off a little bit, but I think it's pretty close to it. So, go check that out if you guys want to see that. But here's here's the main thrust I was trying to make here is Squib's dead on. 89% of the time, it's in a gun-free zone.
Yeah. But my whole point was that the dude lived in Nevada and was from Nevada, had all that stuff, and brought it illegally into California, and, well, apparently their checkpoints didn't work.
Yep. None of it. None of it.
Yeah,
and that brings me to the next point I'm going to make.
And that's what I was getting at. No California law, nothing they could have done other than removing all those anti-gun laws would have done anything to help.
Or, as I know Midnight pointed out, and I'm not sure who else it was out in the chat pointed it out. I think it was Enrique Sonora. Yeah, Enrique said a few minutes ago, well, quite a few minutes ago, all designed to fail about the California gun control laws, all designed to fail intentionally. That way, only one solution is the ultimate giveaway. The only one solution is the ultimate giveaway. And then Midnight comes along and says, okay, so nothing ultimately matters except a guy killed people with a gun. Anti-gunners will say, see, no matter what we do, nothing stopped him or would have. We need to confiscate them all. And that is the entire point of all these ridiculous infringements that they keep coming up with that they know don't work. They know it's all a bunch of crap. They know it has nothing to do with crime. They know it has nothing to do with safety. They know it has nothing to do with trying to prevent murders. They know it has nothing to do with protecting anybody. It has nothing to do with it. You know, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Civilian disarmament.
One bite at a time. These are just a step, a step, a step, a step. So they can say, well, we need to try this. Okay, that's not working. All right, well, we need to try this. Okay, that's not working. Well, we need to try this then. Okay, that's not working. Have you noticed? Pay attention to your history, because the entire history of gun control has been one small incremental step after another, all heading in the same direction. Because this isn't working, 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 until eventually they get to the point where they say, well, you know what? The only thing that's going to work is if we take them all. Because by that time, we won't have hardly anything left and people won't care. That's what they're doing. And that's the entire goal of this. Enrique Sonora hit that nail dead on the head when he said they're designed to fail. Because they're leading us down this path. Prove me wrong.
I'm not going to.
Wound up.
Though wound up.
I don't know that I'm wound up. I might be a little fired up.
Well,
Those itches.
It's up to Midnight. Midnight, make the determination. Did he win the roundup of the week, or is it still up in the air?
I'm not impressed. He can do better than that.
There's still more shows between now and Sunday. Don't try and put the nail in my coffin yet. Because he hates when they say they have to do something. Yeah, I hate it too, brother.
We have to nail it. We have to nail it right now, here.
Way.
No, we've got all the way up until the closer.
That's right.
Ba whoosh.
Whoosh.
David Ramirez, good for you. Says, I'm doing my part, taking 4 people who have never shot before to the range on Sunday. I rented a private range so they can feel more relaxed. Outstanding. That's exactly the kind of thing that we need to do. Good for you, man.
Yeah, David Ramirez, I want to know what kind of guns are you bringing? Because if they've never shot before and you give them something that's a little bit too powerful, it might turn them off. I've had that experience myself where I had a limited, diverse collection of guns, and they were too heavy, they kicked too hard. So I went out and bought more guns so that when I do take people, I've got something.
Midnight says, I may be the aggravated up sumbitch of the week.
Is that like the runner-up prize, the consolation prize?
Well, so so circling back to what I said about exploitation of tragedy, as we should all be aware, excuse me, we had a couple of Democrat debates this week, and in the first one, Let's see. This is from July 30th, a piece by A.W.R. Hawkins in Breitbart. Says, Democrat debate, candidates push gun laws that failed 2 days ago in California. Amy Klobuchar, Pete Buttigieg, I don't know what the hell, how the hell to pronounce that name. I apologize. I'll even apologize to you for butchering that. Bernie Sanders, John Hickenlooper, and others during the Democrat debate pushed universal background checks and other gun controls that failed to prevent Sunday's Gilroy Garlic Festival shooting. Klobuchar said she watched President Trump fold when he had a chance to push universal background checks, and she pledged that she will not fold if elected. She pledged to get universal background checks passed and the assault weapons ban. She said she will also do something about magazines. Buttigieg said 90% of Republicans want universal background checks. He also said people should also want the common sense solutions like red flag laws, as well as a ban on assault weapons. Hickenlooper talked about passing universal background checks in Colorado and lamented that the federal government has yet to put such checks into place. Sanders also pledged universal background checks and said he would end the gun show loophole. Ironically, California has had an assault weapons ban for approximately 3 decades, and the state has had universal background checks for over 2 decades. Such background checks necessarily close the so-called gun show loophole, so it is safe to say that that loophole has been absent in California for roughly 25 years. Moreover, California has had a confiscatory red flag law. Yet the gunman who struck the Gilroy Garlic Festival on July 28th was able to shoot 3 people and fatally wound over 12 others. So, yeah. Moving back to another article. Let's see, which is it? Is this one? No, this is not it. There's a couple more. This is by Jordan McDonald from CNBC. Says, Democrats' gun control debate expands into an argument about money in politics. Gun control emerged as a big issue. This is from July 30th and CNBC.com. Gun control emerged as a big issue during the Democratic presidential debate Tuesday in Detroit, but then it grew into an argument about money in politics. The National Rifle Association, candidates argued, was emblematic of how large, well-funded lobbying groups and corporations exert too much influence on elections. Senator Bernie Sanders, who, along with Senator Elizabeth Warren, was the top polling candidate on the stage, touted his poor ratings from the NRA as proof of his ability to effect major change. Nobody up here is going to tell you that we have a magical solution to the crisis, Sanders said. I have a D- voting record from the NRA, and as president, I suspect it will be an F record. Governor Steve Bullock, who hadn't qualified for the first debate in June, railed against lobbying efforts in his home state of Montana and praised his government's ability to limit corporate spending. You can make changes, even in Montana with a 2/3 Republican legislature, Bullock said. Even we stopped the Koch brothers from spending at that time. If we can kick the Koch brothers out of Montana, we can do it in D.C. and do it everywhere. So, yeah, they go on to talk about lobbying. So, back up here, let's see. There's another one. Oh, that must have been it. I must not have... Oh, wait, no. Here we go. I just think it's funny how this is another one from The Guardian from the 29th. And it quotes, let's see. The thing I want to point out is, you know how they're always complaining about politicians sending thoughts and prayers, but I guess this is okay because Beto O'Rourke said, sending love to all who are hurting tonight and all who are affected by the 40,000 gun deaths in America each year. Now, of course, that counts suicides and gangbangers and drug violence and stuff, but let's ignore that. We can accept this as our fate or we can change it. Following the lead of the students marching for their lives and all of our heart and for all of ours, I know we can end this crisis. Yeah, we sure can, by allowing people to defend themselves. I just think it's funny how thoughts and prayers are to be made a mockery of, but sending love, that's okay. Sending love and jackbooted thugs to confiscate your arms. That's apparently the Democrat way. Yeah, we're starting to run a little bit long here, so I think I'm going to go ahead and shut that down. And move on to... Because I'm tired of all this negative stuff, tired of all this doom and gloom, tired of all these guys talking about all these, nut jobs in the world, both committing atrocities and trying to exploit them. Instead, I want to talk about something that's just uplifting and just really, really warms my heart. It thaws me to my being. Roll Call 219's favorite segment, self-defense shoutouts. For those of you who are new to the show or who have never stuck around to the end, self-defense shoutouts are not where I'm reveling in the death or the injury of the bad guy. They are where I am reveling in the fact that the good guy had the means, method, and opportunity with which to defend themselves from the bad guy. So, this first one comes from July 25th, 2019 by KOMO News. I had to put him down. Homeowner shoots car prowler in Covington. Covington, Washington. A homeowner in Covington shot one of two alleged prowlers in his driveway during a confrontation Thursday morning. The shooting happened around 2:15 a.m. after the homeowner saw two people outside breaking into cars. The homeowner, Patrick, who didn't want to give his last name, tells KOMO his motion sensors and security cameras alerted him of the prowling. When he checked his phone, he saw the thieves on camera rifling through his car. I came out, saw the guys, and literally caught them red-handed. So their hands were red? Because that's what that sentence would mean, but anyhow, I digress. Patrick said the guy turned around and he had what appeared to be a pistol in his hand, and he hid behind the vehicle, and I just took cover beyond the forerunner and had to put him down because he was coming right at me. The other prowler ran off on foot, and police still have not found that person. Deputies say they found a wounded felon with a gun stolen during a car prowl 5 days ago. As of Thursday afternoon, he was in serious condition at the ICU. Deputies tell KOMO this appears to be a case of self-defense. He had never seen this prowler before, Patrick said. It's bad timing for sure for that guy. Patrick said his security system caught the entire event and backed up his account of what happened. That's why I'm not arrested. Police looked at it and they're like, wow, okay, Patrick said. It's not the first time thieves have hit Patrick's home. He posted surveillance images on his block after someone broke into his car last month. Patrick thinks that person may have been one of the two people in his driveway this morning. Patrick says his security system made a huge difference, alerting him before the thieves did more damage. A camera is not going to save your life, but I'll tell you, it protected mine, he said. Good for you. Next up comes from July 30th by Kyle Cook and Cameron Taylor from WSMV. Near robbery victim stands ground, shoots man who tried to rob him. Nashville, Tennessee. A mid-state man didn't let himself become a victim outside of a bank. He took matters into his own hands by shooting another man trying to rob him. It happened outside the U.S. Bank on Bell Road in Antioch on Tuesday. During that situation, you can't really think. You just got to act off of impulse, Tevin Kelly told News 4. Kelly said he became suspicious when he saw a man wearing a red hoodie outside the bank. You know it's the middle of the summertime, and that's not the type of weather you want a hoodie on, Kelly said. Metro Police said 19-year-old Kenneth Cathy was sitting across the parking lot from the bank. At one point, Kelly said Cathy started walking toward him with a gun as he was depositing money at the ATM. That's when I pulled my firearm out and shot at him, Kelly said. Police said Kelly shot Cathy several times in self-defense. Neither of the men knew each other. Once Cathy is out of the hospital, he'll be arrested and charged with attempted aggravated robbery. It's a scenario Kelly hopes he never has to experience again. You never know what someone is going to do on the other end with a firearm when they got it out and whatnot. You never know how that situation is going to play out, Kelly said. Grenada native identified as home intruder shot, killed in West Memphis. This is from WMC Action News 5 from August 1st, 2019. West Memphis, Arkansas, WTVA. A home intruder was shot and killed in West Memphis, Arkansas, police told WMC TV. The shooting happened shortly before sunrise Thursday. Police officers responded to the scene and found a man dead inside a home, the Memphis TV station reports. A woman at the home told police that she and her boyfriend were sleeping when they heard the front door being kicked in. The boyfriend grabbed a gun and investigated the noise, WMC TV reports. When the boyfriend saw a man in his apartment, the boyfriend shot the man twice in the chest. Police determined the shooting was in self-defense and no charges will be filed. The TV station reports the intruder was identified as Bernard Bullens, 26. He was originally from Grenada, Mississippi. So there you have it, folks. Three scenarios, that was three, right? Three scenarios wherein a armed citizen defended themselves. You know, the proverbial good guy with a gun stopped the bad guy with a gun. Despite what NPR and MSNBC, the mainstream media, anybody else will tell you, it happens every day. And I think it's a great thing. So that being said, let's go ahead and start to wrap this up. I'd like to thank everybody out there in the chat here. I would also like to thank everybody on the panel. All of you guys together, you're what make this show happen. What makes this show happen? I just kind of facilitated. This is really all about you guys. One thing though I would like to say, and I guess I should have said this before I started wrapping it up. These self-defense shout-outs demonstrate why it's probably a good idea for people to carry some kind of insurance. Concealed carry insurance of some kind, whether it's, Law Shield or, well, I was going to say Carry Guard, but that's defunct, or the USCCA, which is my personal choice. I think you should probably have some kind of insurance. You have insurance on your car in case you get into a wreck. Well, I think you should have self-defense insurance in case you have to defend yourself. Do your due diligence. Make sure that it is a type of insurance that pays up front and doesn't reimburse. And select a plan that's good for you and your family and carry it. That's the smart thing to do, because if this ever happens, it could turn you into a beggar real quick. Either that or an inmate. And I don't think either one of those is going to be a good time. So let's go ahead and go through the panel in no particular order. Squib, is there anything that you would like to leave us with? Any plugs you'd like to make? Any final thoughts for the evening?
No, everybody just, stay in the fight in your own way and try to make a difference. Try to keep up on current events. Try to educate yourself. And if somebody who isn't into guns or doesn't share our belief on freedom asks you a question, make the time to answer it.
There you go. Be a good ambassador, man. Be a good ambassador. Don't be an argumentative, nasty person. Try to be helpful and informative. And that you'll go a long way towards presenting all of us as the good guys that we are. Roll call. Anything you'd like to leave us with? Anything you'd like to plug?
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a great show. Love self-defense shout-outs. My favorite part. Yeah, you can go visit me over there on YouTube at RollCall219. You can find me on Twitter. I tweet Elizabeth Warren every day. Every time she tweets, I tweet at her. And you can go on there and see what I say to her. Which is
working on a restraining order?
I'm trying to work that out with her.
At least a cease and desist letter.
No. If you get a restraining order from Elizabeth Warren, will you frame it and hang it on the wall like Sheldon did for his one from Leonard Nimoy?
Probably. But you can find me on Instagram all the time. I'm always hanging out on Instagram more than all the other social medias. Facebook, I don't do pretty much anything on there because every time I post a picture of a gun, it goes against their community guidelines. But you can always find me on Instagram or Twitter. Those are two good things. And here on YouTube, I prowl around on gunstreamer.com at times. And don't forget about guntube.org. My website will be up in the next few weeks.
Awesome.
And hopefully I'll have some swag on there for you guys to buy to help out the channel. How I'm going to afford these programs, I don't know yet. So you can always go to my PayPal account and you can help that way. Anything.
Roll call money if you need help. You know who to ask.
Yeah, I know who to ask. But anyway, thanks for having me, Budget. Great show.
Always welcome, brother. Always welcome. Next up, the one, the only, Night Strike. Anything you'd like to leave us with? I know you got something you want to plug.
I'll do that in a second, but I have to say something on roll call's defense. If he does get the restraining order, he has to hang it up next to his DNA test results that say he is more Native American than Elizabeth Warren.
Oh!
I just needed to say that because, it needed to be said. But with that, I'm working on a Hangout alternative as well. I know we're all using this, different stuff, but I'm working on it for GunTube. And basically, you'll go to a GunTube URL. You'll put in your YouTube stream key. You'll live stream to YouTube, and you'll be using GunTube and GunTube servers. And you'll only be using YouTube to do your live stuff. So check that out. The Indiegogo campaign is in the link in the chat. I've been posting it, infrequently while we've been talking.
Awesome.
So
Everybody go check that out. Support that project, man. It's a good thing. If you feel you can't do that, throw $1 a month at him on Patreon. I'm a patron of GunTube over there, so go ahead and support that.
And by the way, I did check with my DNA, and I do have more Native American in me than Elizabeth Warren does.
Awesome. Awesome.
Even with the European beard that I got, I still have more.
You got some casino money coming your way, or
no? I'm just that much out of it to not get any casino money. My grandfather could have though.
Oh,
because of how much he had.
All right. Last but absolutely not least, the kingpin himself, David Bowling. Anything you'd like to leave us with, sir? Anything you'd like to plug?
No, man. Just thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Great show.
Hey, not a problem. As I said to the other guys, you're always welcome here. Everybody out there in the chat, I want to thank you for stopping by and spending this time with us, being part of this conversation. It is all about you guys. You're why I do this. It always warms my little heart to see that you've decided to spend this time here, and it makes me humble. Hi, Ashley, joining in right as we're leaving, but thanks for stopping by. As always, I want to say that you guys can support the channel by like, share, subscribe, all that. That's always a good thing. It helps. Go on over to Gunstreamer and check us out over there, because we're not just YouTube centric. Everything that I do here goes over there, and there's already one, but there are soon to be more videos that are going to be Gunstreamer only. Assembly videos, disassembly videos. I still have my black pipe shotgun project planned that I'm going to build one, and that's going to be on Gunstreamer only, because they actually support us and YouTube does not. So
Budget, I think you're going to have fun with that. I did 3 reloading videos, the same exact cartridge, same press, same load, everything else. I did a GunTube version, a Gunstreamer version, and a YouTube. It took me 2 weeks to shoot and edit everything, and I don't know that I want to do one for all 3 platforms again, but I had a lot of fun doing it, so I think you're going to enjoy it. Just making Gunstreamer only stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of like doing a custom kind of thing, so.
Well, I'm sure it'll be freeing, not having to worry about whether it's going to get smacked down or not, because it won't.
I support doing it on GunTube because, hey, there's no YouTube policies telling you what you can and can't do on GunTube. We're pretty much an open forum.
So that's another reason to throw some support Night Strike's way. So you can also support the channel by going to www.budgetgunsandgear.com, going to the links, and there is a link there to go to Amazon. If you don't, there's 2 of them actually. One through my influencer store. You can check that out, get anything there, click on anything, and then anything you buy, I'll get a piece of. Or if you don't want to go through my influencer store, just click on the link that'll take you to the Amazon homepage, and then anything you get, I'll get a small piece of, and that'll help the channel out, and you won't be paying anything extra whatsoever. Just all it takes is a little bit of time and a couple of clicks. So that's great. As always, you can go to my Spreadshirt shop and check that out. Matter of fact, I'm wearing one of my shirts right now. Speaking of shameless, self-promoting whore right here, this is one of my designs. You can find this over there, along with a bunch of others. So, hey, help the channel out, right? Even if it ain't me, find one. Find one of these smaller creators that doesn't get a whole lot from ad money, which even the big guys aren't anymore, and help them out. That's how you can keep these projects going, Oh, speaking of stuff, I'm going to be ordering some patches here real soon. They're going to be embroidered, Velcro backed, and it'll probably be the logo. So
nice.
Look for those.
About damn time.
I know, right? Look for those.
Are they going to be circular, like your avatar, or are they going to be shield like your
They are going to
sticker?
be this right here, the circular avatar
Cool.
That right there.
Cool.
So I finally got some scratch to fund it, so I'm going to go ahead and buy a couple hundred of them. So, yeah, those will be offered for sale here soon. And I'll give a couple away and whatnot, and, just kind of say thank you to everybody. But, yeah, so always check all that stuff out. But as always, I'm going to leave us with this. With all the chicanery going on with our politicians, with all the uncertainty in the world, you have to constantly be on your Congress critters and elected representatives and let them know how you think. They should be afraid when they see your name come up. They should know that you're going to give them what for. They should know what you're going to tell them already because you've told them so much. Send them snail mail, email, telephone, telegraph, freaking smoke signals, carrier pigeons, bicycle messengers, runners, semaphore, heliograph. Do whatever you have to do to let them know what you think, and never, ever, ever give up the fight. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Shall not be infringed.
As soon as I can shut this off. Yep. Oh, wait.